All right. This is the Monday, August 22nd, and it's the Westwood Recreation Commission meeting. We're going to call the meeting of the Recreation Commission to order at 7:02 p.m. Our first order of business is the election of Sheila to president. Is that the correct office?
Jim.
Can I call for a motion?
I motion it.
And a second?
Second.
And then we'll vote?
Yes.
So because Theresa and Mitch have already did they still have to vote?
Yes.
Okay, so Theresa, do you
Aye.
approve? Mitch, do you approve?
Let me think about it. No, of course I do. Of course. Sorry, I know. Yes, I'm just kidding. Of course, yes.
Joyce, do you approve?
Yes, I approve.
I approve, and Sheila.
And Anne is just joining us. So if I can get her in the meeting, we'll get her vote as well. I don't know why it takes so long sometimes for people to get promoted. I've pushed the button 5 times and it won't bring her in.
Is it because you're recording?
No. All right, here she comes.
Good.
Hi, Anne.
Hi, I'm trying to see if there.
Were you able to hear all
No.
that?
I heard a vote. Was that for Sheila?
Yes, it was.
Mhm.
Okay.
Would you like to lodge your vote?
I approve, in
Excellent.
favor.
So that's unanimous.
Sorry, I'm late. Just walked in.
Congratulations, Sheila. So now we'll turn the reins over to Sheila.
Okay, and okay, so now we're going to public comment, I
We'll
believe.
call for public comment, and there are folks in the waiting room, so we'll bring them in. We'll ask folks to state their name and address, and if they could, please try to keep their comments to 2 to 3 minutes. I won't be timing it, but if you could just be as brief as possible, that would be appreciated. So I'm going to all right, Dan, if you want to state your name and address, please.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
My name is Dana Pilata and address is 43 St. Denis Drive, Westwood, Mass.
welcome.
Thank you, Rick. So my name is Dana Pilata and I've been an active member of this community for 14 years. I have 2 children, ages 10 and 8, with my 8-year-old daughter requiring more support to be an active member of this community. My daughter has attended Park and Rec since she was the age of 5, but it's become increasingly more difficult the past few years for her. This culminated with her being asked to no longer attend the program this year unless we provided her with a one-on-one aide, abruptly leaving us without childcare the last 3 weeks of summer. For Olivia, I currently drive her to surrounding communities such as Norwood, Dover, and Medfield for her to participate in activities so she can socialize with her peers. It should also be noted that some other surrounding communities provide one-on-one aids for neurodiverse children if given ample notice. Finally, as a nurse practitioner myself, I'm concerned at the lack of a board-registered nurse at camp, limiting children with certain medical conditions and children that need to receive medications. I speak tonight to share my story to raise awareness of the lack of inclusivity in the recreation department for neurodiverse children in this town. Currently, your mission statement is to provide a broad variety of safe, fun, exciting, and high-quality programs and events to participants of all ages, interests, and abilities, which clearly through my story does not currently hold true. I know both inclusivity and therapeutic recreation are topics on tonight's agenda. Also, for the first time, the fall brochure included 3 options for neurodiverse children. I truly appreciate your efforts. These small changes are a start, but I believe there's a lot more work to be done in this community. I'm here to advocate personally for my children, and I'm willing to help the recreation department in any way I can to invoke change that's positive for all community members. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to go next to Dory.
Hi, my name is Dory Parmalee. I'm at 88 School Street in Westwood. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Wonderful. I just wanted to echo actually what Dana had shared previously, and also share that I too am the parent of a child within Westwood who is both neurodiverse and has medical needs. Specifically, he has an epileptic condition, which requires him to have the presence of a nurse in most situations, and also to have staff who feel confident in being able to manage his situation should an emergency arise. He has not been able to participate in many recreation programs over the last, I would say, 6 years. And so, like Dana, we have sought participation in other surrounding towns, and would certainly love for him to be able to have the opportunity to participate in programs within our hometown as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dory. Okay, we'll go to Julie next. Julie, can you unmute your phone? Julie Rampola, can you unmute if you have a comment? All right, I'm going to go to the next person. For some reason, Julie is not responding. How about Liz Poland?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Liz.
Okay. Liz Poland, 58 Juniper Ridge Road in Westwood. So I just really want to echo what Dana had said. I have 2 children, neurodiverse in the community, and they actually have never participated in Westwood rec programs because of the lack of support. I am actually very happy to say there was the 2 therapeutic programs that were added. I know that was one member of the community that really kind of spearheaded that, and I really appreciate that. But again, just want to echo that, unfortunately, a little too late for some of these kids who have been in the school system for a while and never been able to kind of participate. So I would love to see more inclusive programs and more kind of one-on-one support for children who might need that. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. All right, we'll go to Laura next.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hi, just wanted to again echo what everyone is saying, just supporting the group here for as a school nurse in the district. I would love to see some more inclusion and different things for kids who have different needs in the district. Thank you.
thank you, Laura. Mary Beth?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Mary Beth Thornton, 11 Connors Place, Westwood. I just also wanted to join in supporting the group. I have a neurodiverse student as well who he's actually a triplet and his siblings have participated in rec programs, but he has not been able to due to the lack of support. So I just wanted to add my support as well. Thank you.
thank you, Mary Beth. I want to make sure. Megan?
Hi, my name is Megan Flaherty at 188 School Street. And I am also in support of having more programs available through the Westwood Rec Center as to incorporate those kids who are different, neurodiverse. And my child, one of my children is neurodiverse as well, has never been able to participate in a program. But what's also important to consider here too is that as we think about our community to become more inclusive, that having these types of programs that incorporate all sorts of diversity are important not only for those kids to stay within their community and participate in programs within their community, but it's also important for the community to have these kids as a part of the community, because it also teaches that aspect of diversity, acceptance, understanding, which is truly important, especially as when these kids are super young, because as they get up into middle school, it helps all of these children to really understand each other, and hopefully then reduces the elements of bullying that occur as these kids get older. And so therefore, I appreciate that there are now some programs within the rec center, although my child has aged out and not been able to participate. At the same time, it would be helpful for all of us to come together and think about all the different things that we can do to help all sorts of families out. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Monique?
Can y'all hear me?
Hi, Monique. Yes.
Hi, Monique D1, 167 Carroll Avenue. I personally have had a wonderful experience with the Westwood Rec. However, I have multiple friends in the community who have not experienced the same things that my children have been able to experience. And I feel like I am in full support that we need to have more inclusivity for every child who lives in Westwood. Thank you.
Thank you, Monique. All right, there's no one else that has not had a chance to speak in the waiting room.
Is there something I'm looking, my screen has changed. Hello?
Oh,
Can you hear us, Mitch?
yeah.
I can hear you, but my screen I can't see anybody and it just says Zoom.
Oh, you probably moved your mouse onto some other.
You need to call your admin person, your
no,
IT person that's standing next to you.
There is one other person who would like to speak. I'm going to bring in Tracy.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say she's in the comments. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what I did wrong. So I want to start. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
can you
thank you.
say your name and your address, please?
Absolutely. My name is Tracy Charland and I live at 402 East Street. I want to start by saying that my daughter, Tessa, has thrived this summer in the Westwood Rec program. We've attended for a couple of years and this was her best year yet. And I am so grateful for the incredible program. And she was able to also do the bonus 8 and 9 week program. So we literally spent our entire summer with Rec and I'm very grateful. My daughter is neurodiverse, so I am very open and honest about any special accommodations that she might need. Thankfully, as she gets older, those are less and less because she's again developing fantastically, but at the same time, she also needs a little bit of support. And I feel like your staff has done a great job listening and hearing that. And I want to commend you for beginning to offer some programs that are inclusive. But I do also want to say early on when we try to do soccer, when my daughter was, I think it was kindergarten or first grade, we tried a couple sessions, but it just, it wasn't enough. And I think the sad part, and I just want to be brutally honest with you, is that for kids that need a little bit of extra help, it really doesn't take a lot. The sad part is the brunt of it falls on the parents. It's really sad when your kid can't be part of the town soccer program. And I have to drive by on Saturday or Sunday mornings and look at the 100 of kids, playing soccer. And my daughter Tessa saying, why do we have to go to Dover to play soccer? Because Dover has an incredible program that they have embraced through Top Soccer, and their high school students work with my daughter and a bunch of students that are in Westwood and other communities to help them get the support that they need. And it's a fantastic program. And that was birthed in Dover out of a family having a Down syndrome child who was not able to access their program. The community, the town, the school system, the rec department, everybody put their heads together, found this program that is a national program and did whatever they could to make this an opportunity for students from their town to be able to participate in their soccer program. So I personally right now am sad every time I have to drive by a field of kids in my town to go take my daughter to do soccer in Dover, but that's what I do because I want to give her the opportunities to do that. And whether it's taking her to an inclusive adaptive dance program in Medfield, because, there's other programs that are just too competitive. It's what I'll do right now for my child to do what I can for her to give her that opportunity. But now that my daughter's heading into 4th grade, sports are getting more and more competitive. And my fear is that I don't want it to be too late. It should never be too late. Our town should embrace opportunities to make these kind of offerings more inclusive so that kids like Tessa can, in grade 4 and grade 5, be able to play alongside their peers in a way that's not as competitive. I understand that she's not going to be a star athlete and get a scholarship to go play sports in college, but I would hope that our town would embrace an opportunity for Tessa to play alongside her peers to gain skills and also have that sense of community that we're just missing out on. There's so many kids that form these incredible bonds with their peers and families get to make these connections. And I have to be honest, I feel pretty isolated and it's just a really sad feeling. So again, my experience with rec for camp in the summertime has been awesome, but I just feel like there's a need to do more. So I know I went over 2 minutes, but I just wanted to be very open and transparent with my feelings.
Thank you, Tracy. All right, now if I believe now that we have captured everybody that is in the waiting room, so.
Okay, so can we have their information that got recorded, right? Can we wait until next month to think about what we need to do?
Mm-hmm.
Or how do you?
Well, we can, it's on the agenda in a couple places, so we can talk about it a little bit more tonight too, so.
Perfect, okay. All right. We'll go into consent to the agenda. And we're looking at last month's minutes, right, to approve?
Yeah, so I think you just want to take a vote to go with the agenda.
Okay. All right, so let's take a vote to go with the agenda.
You can motion it.
I need someone to,
I'll make a motion.
perfect. I need someone second,
Second.
perfect. Well, do we have to go through everyone to vote?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I am learning all these new people's names. We have a Theresa Laham. What's you consent?
Consent.
Perfect. Katie,
Yes.
Joyce. You're
Is
muted.
Joyce an associate member now?
Yes,
Oh, Joyce is an associate. She doesn't, got it.
Unless we need her for a quorum.
Mitch,
Yes.
is Danielle an associate? Is Danielle a member? She,
Danielle is my boss, so she's not.
oh, interesting. Thank
Just
you.
a
Ian.
visitor.
We're gonna get to that in a minute.
Okay, Ian, you're an associate or you a member?
I'm a member and I
Yay,
approve.
perfect. And I know the guy down in the corner, Chris Coleman. All right, so he's got nothing on this either. All right. So now we move to, the minutes are approved from last month, and now we go to the monthly report.
So again, so you just want to vote to approve the minutes unless there's any discussion that needs to take place about them.
That
Okay.
was the consent agenda that was just approved.
All right, so
Is there any, are there any comments or about the minutes from last meeting? I wouldn't expect it because they've been circulated already. So again, so, okay, so you just want to, Sheila, you just want to ask for a vote to approve the minutes.
okay, now we're going to vote to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion.
I'll
Second.
second it.
Okay, so Katie motioned and then Ann seconded it. So I am asking Joyce for her vote.
I approve.
Theresa, I'm asking for your vote.
Yes.
Mitch, I'm asking for your vote.
Yes.
Ann, I'm asking for your vote.
Yes.
Katie, I guess I'm asking for your vote. Even though you
Yes.
motioned.
I
And
approve.
Ann, and, okay, now we're done. All right, so now we're going to commission members reports.
Yeah, so I think you want to just, are there any questions? I'm not going to talk about anything specific on the monthly report. Nothing to highlight. There's a couple things we'll talk about in the body of the agenda, but if there's any questions that anyone has on the monthly report. No. All right.
Wait, Rich, I'm sorry to interrupt. Does that include
ahead, Mitch.
does that include the pickleball or will that be separate?
I've got to talk about that later.
Okay.
Rich, any updates on the lifeguard situation? I know there was still an opening. Has that been fulfilled yet?
Sue, how'd you like to take that one?
Thank you, Rich. Lifeguarding, we are at a transitional period right now as far as part-time lifeguarding. We've lost most of our lifeguards except for Brian, Holly, and myself to either college or fall sports. And as far as the aquatic specialist position, that remains unfilled.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're gonna move to the commission members now.
Yep.
We have new members and so the new.
So we have Fuad, help me with your last name. Is it Matar?
Yes.
What?
Yep.
Fuad Matar, who is applied to become the seventh full-time member of the commission. I have met with him as well as Chris and Sue. And we had a nice chat with him about, I don't know, 4 or 6 weeks or so ago, and invited him to come talk to the commission tonight, talk a little bit about himself and give you the opportunity to ask him questions. So did you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, Fuad?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you. So I'll keep it short so you can ask me questions. So I've been a resident of Westwood roughly 3 years, 3 years and change. Moved here with my wife and 2 kids who go to Martha Jones, 7 and 8-year-old and entering 2nd and 3rd grade. Just historically been in the IT business for a long time personally. My wife is a physician. She works over in Boston Children's. And when we moved back to the Boston area in 2018, we were eager to settle down and find a kind of a forever home and a forever town and settled on Westwood. So that's where we are today. And, my past, in the past 20 something years I've been in the industry, I kind of moved around the world quite a bit. And when my wife and I first started to have kids, we thought, let's settle down. So one of the things I always wanted to do was give my kids the kind of community I think Westwood offers. And one of the aspects of that is being involved in local community events like Westwood Recreation. So we've been very active in that in the past few years, and still are. And it's just been a wonderful experience, much like some of the speakers earlier. And I've always told my wife I wanted to kind of get involved in community, give back as much as I can. And when this position opened up in one of the emails that I got from the town, I was very interested because I'm active, my kids are active in it. It's an area which I enjoy personally because I take my kids and I've coached with a soccer group. And so just, experiencing the positives of it, I thought, why not give back and participate and contribute? And so that's what I'm here to do, hopefully.
Great. Thank you very much for joining. We'll look forward to learning more about you and working with you on the commission.
Thank you so much.
Does anyone have any questions for Fuad?
Nope, he sold me.
Do you say you coach soccer, Fuad?
Yeah, so both my girls have been in the league, since we moved here. And then last year I was an assistant coach. I wouldn't dare be the primary coach. So I assisted coaching both my girls. And this year, my oldest, Christine, moves into the traveling league. Grade, so it's going to be a bit of a challenge to balance coaching and driving her around. But yeah, that was fun. You get to meet some parents more intimately, and trying to manage 8 or 10 girls at a time has not been as easy as I thought it would be, but it's been fun. It's been terrific.
Yeah. What recreation programs have they participated in?
What have we done? So we do camp, the regular camp. They're doing right now tennis. We tried out guitar lessons for my youngest over with the gig. What's the company called? I forget the name.
Band gig.
Yep. We've done, you guys know how it is. We all race to sign up when the things first open. I wanted them to do theater. They couldn't get in, but they've done hip hop, like 5 or 6 sessions in a row. We've kind of dabbled in everything. And this time around, it's going to be more craft galore on some of those programs. So they dabbled in everything. I try and keep them doing something at least, 4 or 5 nights a week to stay out of trouble. So quite a bit of things. Some will come back to me when in a moment.
Right. Appreciate your interest.
We did, by the way, we did the top secret science thing last week, and they were blown away by how amazing it was. So that was a terrific program last week.
Great.
Any other questions for Fuad? How am I doing pronouncing your name, Fuad? Am I hitting it?
You're doing terrific.
I had to practice, I'll be honest.
Yeah, you'll never forget it. Once it sticks, it's there forever.
Yeah. Excellent. All right.
So what are the next steps? So the interviews have taken place, and now is it up to the select board?
Yeah, so I'll loop back with Chris and Danielle, and we'll make a recommendation to the select board to approve.
Yes, Rich, if I could just add, so the next select board meeting is scheduled for September 12th.
Okay. All right, unless there's any other questions for Fuad, we'll go to the next item, which is we have a new org structure in town around human services. And Chris, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but would you like to talk a little bit about the creation of this new role and Danielle as an appointment as the Director of Human Services?
Well, if you don't want to put me on the spot, don't ask me the question. I mean, I guess that's what. No, right. Happy to share. So thank you. Yes. So when I first got here almost 3 years ago, one of the things I began doing was reviewing department structures. And one of the things I found is recreation, library, Council on Aging, Youth and Family Services, and Veterans have some services that overlap, but they also work very well together. And one of the things when I met with Danielle, we talked about creating this human services department where we would have a human services director that would oversee those services, look at the overlapping and try to reallocate resources so we're not repeating certain programs or repeating certain services, and we're also working together. And it started in July with this forming of this new committee or this new department. And they're already off and running and doing some fabulous work together. I would like to say that we have really good people working for the town. It's been a pleasure to work for the town and work with these true professionals in all departments. Human services, by its nature, is a service that is constantly interacting with members of the public. You heard many residents speaking earlier today. There's a lot of positive work that these team members are doing, and I just really want to thank them for their contribution, thank them for their professionalism, thank them for their foresight in trying to provide new and exciting services for the residents of Westwood. But Danielle and her team are, like I said, off and running and looking at ways to even improve off of the good work that everyone has already been doing.
Chris, do you mind just saying what departments they are again? There was a lot.
I'm sorry. Yes, sorry about that. Yes. So human services will consist of recreation, library, council on aging, youth and family services, and our veterans division. And just to be clear, on our veterans side, the town is part of the West Suburban Veterans District. So we have partnered with the district. So we receive the professional services from the district, but a lot of the things that we do locally for our veterans, the Memorial Day observation, the Veterans Day observation, and things like that, we handle that primarily with our team here, but also in cooperation with the deputy director and the director from the West Suburban Veterans District.
Danielle, or Chris, I'm sorry. How does your role fit in? Are you now Rich's supervisor? Are you? I mean, you're not director. Is there another layer here? How does this work? Just curious.
Yes, I don't see Danielle on my screen, so I'm sorry. Yes, so Danielle is the director of human services. And then we have those departments I just mentioned that she's overseeing. Each of those departments still have a director, so I think that's very important for everyone to understand. And Daniela will be working with them and also taking some other roles that she's already begun. She's very active in our Human Rights Task Force and looking at different opportunities and different projects that she's going to have when it comes to human services in totality.
So
I see Danielle. So Danielle, if you would like to say something.
Sure. Thank you. Mitch, you might not be able to see me, but I hope you can hear me.
I can both.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rich and Chris. So I know some folks on the commission because I've been in Westwood since 2004, and I came in as a clinician in the Youth and Family Services Department at that time, and then was the director of Youth and Family Services from 2009 up until this past July when I moved into this Director of Human Services position. So I've just, as Chris said, all of the human services departments that he mentioned have always worked beautifully together with a lot of collaborative projects that have made us more efficient and provided more services to the community. So this is really just a continuation of what has been happening all along, a kind of formalization. And so I'm just excited to be here and to be able to work more closely with recreation and with Council on Aging, library, youth and family services, and veteran services, and just wanting to support the great work that's going on. So thanks for having me, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Is this a different human resources? Are there two human resources departments now in the town?
So the way there's two different departments with very similar names, and this happens all the time in human services. So human services encompasses all of the departments that really work with people around providing supports. So think, youth and family services is mental health and community support for children and families between 4 to 18. You've got the library that serves all ages, recreation that serves all ages. You have veteran services that serves the veterans in our community, and you have council on aging that serves the seniors in our community. So all of those departments are serving the people, providing community opportunities for engagement across the lifespan. So this human services encompasses all of that. Human resources, or personnel, as some people call it, handles all of the employment parts.
So you're
of the
human
town.
services.
Yep, human
Okay,
services.
Director of
And
Human Services.
that's right. Yep.
Thank you for clarifying.
Right. I don't see anybody else ready to ask a question, so I'll just go back onto mute, and thank you again for having me.
Thanks, Danielle.
Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to move on to, I believe, Theresa with resident versus non-resident registration.
So I've received a few emails and about this, and I've talked to a variety of people who have been able to utilize the Park and Rec and sign up. And one parent kind of summed it up. They said, I'm a little ticked off. And I said, why is that? And they go, well, I signed up for an activity. I didn't get in, and I was there at 10 a.m. and I just didn't click it fast enough. And then coming to find out from a friend of mine who did get in, they found out that there was like 2 families from surrounding areas that did get in. And this was with a bunch of families when this happened, and the conversation percolated as they do. And a lot of people kind of aired the same frustration. And I did explain how Park and Rec is primarily self-funded, and we do really require the monies that people pay in order to participate in the activity to fund it. So the argument of, well, I'm a taxpayer and this is my right as a taxpayer, doesn't really float. So I asked the families that I was with, like, well, what would you think is the best solution? And a lot of them said that they felt that it would be a little bit more fair, being a resident of our community, if a resident, since we do have to click the box if you're resident or non-resident, that a resident in the community would have, like, say, a day ahead sign up compared to somebody who was a non-resident. And people did mention that surrounding areas, I believe like Medfield was one of them. I want to say that Canton and also Norwood were mentioned in this conversation, that they give residents like a 1 or 2 day preference to sign up for something before it's opened up to all communities. And the more I kind of meld this over and let this percolate over a few days, and seeing the new options that are coming up for the Park and Rec in terms of this the inclusive programming that is opening up, I feel that also for that population, that Park and Rec does do so many things well, and they do have so much support from the community, that I think it's also so important for specialized programs to have a preference of signing up first, because Westwood's known for good programs. They're known for good access. As I go to the library and I meet families consistently, and they're from West Roxbury, they're from Canton, they're from Randolph, and they're coming to us because we are known for having high quality programs and high quality environments for people to feel safe in. And I think a way of kind of saying thank you to our community would be giving them at least a day to sign up for something, so they had that, they had the right or had the opportunity to kind of utilize their town programs, and then saying to the people around us, all right, who else would want to join in?
Rich, if I remember correctly, we had, prior to the signups, the spring signups, we had something in the program that Westwood were priority over the surrounding towns, didn't we?
No, so the history is this, and this was an issue that was last brought in front of the commission probably 3 to 3.5 years ago or so, by a resident. And my predecessor felt strongly, and I believe Chris's predecessor felt strongly, that we should be open to all and keep it on an even keel in terms of registrations, and hence the policy we have now, which is, there are no restrictions in terms of resident versus non-resident when registration opens. The rationale that was given at the time was that we get about 10% of our participation from outside towns. And that 10% is needed in many cases to make the minimum of programs, right? So if we have a minimum of, say, 8, we may need that. And we didn't want to do anything to alienate non-residents from participating in our programming. So that was the argument back then, the rationale as to why the policy is what it is. So, but you know, the individuals that I just mentioned are no longer here, and you know, I'm also a resident of Westwood, and I personally feel that it would be okay to give the Westwood residents a day or two head start in programming. That's my own personal feeling. I have no objection to it. So I haven't even talked to Chris about this. I'm not sure if he has an idea, or we can touch base afterwards. But curious if anyone else has any other opinions on this, since the commission has changed, you know, personnel over the past couple of years. There's quite a few different opinions probably than there were a few years ago.
I have to admit, I'm with Sheila. I thought that was already in place.
I'm almost positive we had something, Joyce. I remember that.
And
I thought it was
if
the,
it was told that, I'm with you, that if it was told, if we weren't doing it, I was
No.
never told, I wasn't aware of that.
What
I
we
can pull
do
up the
is
minutes, but I remember something we wrote something down. So I'm looking back to see what I can find.
was it the field policy?
no, it's the wait
Nope.
list. If there's a wait list, Westwood residents get priority off the wait list.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So we should take that in regards, if we're doing that for the wait list, we should probably do the same thing for registered programs then as well.
At least for a 24-hour period, like Lisa suggested.
I mean, I don't
Yeah,
think
I
24
agree.
hours is a ton of time. And
I totally agree.
I could say this, like, and I wasn't on the board during COVID. I had just come on at the tail end of a lot of the restrictions coming off, but I know a ton of parents who were really frustrated. Like, they wanted their kid to do something, and they were hoping to do swim conditioning or just do something. And then they get their kid in, they find out their neighbors are not in, and they see 3 cars with like a Norwood bumper sticker pulling in, and those kids getting out, and it twists the knife a little bit. And
especially with the what was the play? What's that play program they all want to get into?
Musical theater.
Musical theater. I think we looked at the numbers, and there was maybe 5 or 6 out of town residents when Westwood people couldn't get into them.
Didn't we just hear from Ford? I'm going to mispronounce his name. Ford?
Yeah.
They couldn't get in.
Your kids didn't get in, right?
Yeah, my 2 cents is I would support too if asked. And, you know, it is I mean, you have to get on there quickly, and by 10:15, the hot ones are gone. So it'd be terrific if we had a day head start. Absolutely.
By 10:02, the hot ones are gone.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
I mean, Ninja for the Ninja program, which I think is a phenomenal offering. My phone was blowing up, and I was trying to get my older ones into things today at 10 o'clock. And then I go, oh my gosh, Rosie, and I'm trying to then get her into something, and like Ninja Warriors gone. And I know at first there was a small glitch. It was quickly corrected. And then once it was corrected, it was all taken up. And then people are asking, well, what does a wait list mean? And how does this work out? And I was kind of wondering, as a person in town, I'm like, well, how many people signed up with a little one? And I'm not opposed from people out of town coming in. I think it's a blessing we can offer this, but it's also a little bit of a twist of the knife, knowing that I live here. Like, I want to be in our community. People all called in saying how they want to be a part of our community. And I think this is one way of making small steps to even make that even more apparent that we're doing these things.
Can the new program handle a non-resident restriction 24 hours later?
There are ways to restrict residents, or pardon me, non-residents from registering.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a manual process, but it is possible, yes.
I think that's why we couldn't do it before. But the prior software could not do that. I know the wait list we could do it because you manually took them off the wait list.
That's right. And it would, so there's a switch for allow for non-resident registrations on the platform. And so we would have to go in and then when the time passes, if we say 24 hours or 48, whatever you want to do, then we would have to go in and flip the switch to allow for non-resident.
But just for the program, you don't have to do it for each individual activity.
It would be for each program.
Oh, so there'd be a time lag there.
Yeah.
Couldn't
It
do
would,
it all.
I mean, it would,
difficult?
it's just going in and doing it. I mean, for all the programs, we offer the most programs in the summer. It would take an hour or two to do it in the summer. The other, for the non-summer seasons, it would be probably half an hour at most.
Is it?
I mean, it takes us days to input all the programs. So it's relative to the amount of time it takes to load all the programs in, it's really not that material.
So could you do it at the time you load the program? You could set up restrictions or no?
No. Well, yes, that's what we would do. We would, when we set them up, we would have to set it up to only allow for residents to register. And then when the time passes, again, pick 24 hours, we would then 24 hours later go in and then have to flip the switch to allow for residents to.
So if I live in Norwood
non-residents.
and the program comes out on June 1st and I live in Norwood and I go to register, do I have to wait 24 hours before I can, or it can take my name and then I go into a holding bin until
No.
24 hours later, then it releases my name?
It wouldn't let you.
Oh, so you have to wait 2 days later to sign up.
That's right.
Oh,
So you'd need a buffer then if you were to implement this, so someone wasn't at 10 a.m. on June 2nd hitting the button and complaining they couldn't get in because it was program number 20 on your list to change, and you do one a minute and it doesn't get changed till 10:20. Like you'd.
I feel, but other towns must do this. I feel like we could
Yeah.
reach out to another town and say, how do you manage this?
Yeah,
Right.
a lot of different towns use a different platform than we do, but yes.
But there's a way to do it. You could say it's a 24-hour window, but you start opening it up 23 hours beforehand or something. I mean, there'd be a way to do it so it would be open.
Yep.
do you want to table this for next month, Rich, and do some research and get back to us? Or do you want us to take a vote to see if we're in unanimous agreement to do a 24 to 48 hour limit?
So I would recommend if you all are in agreement, I would suggest you do it now, and then I will do some research and have discussions operationally, and next meeting we can come back and tell you what we decided to do, how we're going to do it.
Okay, do we want to discuss if you want a 24-hour window or a 48-hour window? Does anyone care?
I think it should be 24 hours.
Yeah, I agree.
I
24
mean,
hours.
most people in Westwood who are registering when they open.
Yeah.
So, all right, so let me think about this just for 1 second. So for fall, winter, and spring, we usually have our sign up day on a weekday. So the next weekday, we would go in and allow for non-residents. However, for our summer registration, it's on a Saturday, which means we'd have to come in on Sunday to do all that. So
That one's 48 then.
I'd say 48 would be operationally more desirable.
It's 10 a.m. the next business day after it opens.
That's
So
not
I
a
think-
bad idea. That'll work too, Ann. Yeah.
The next
24
business day, we
hours,
can say that.
Next business day.
Okay,
I was gonna say, because doesn't most of the registration happen on Fridays?
yeah.
No, well, sometimes it's Friday, sometimes it's Monday. It depends on the production calendar and when we can get the brochure out. And we try to get registrations as early as possible. And that has to do with our ability to produce the brochure and get all the programs together.
Okay, so do you want a motion that we can vote on?
Yeah, so so that's what I would recommend you do. Someone make a motion to vote to change the registration to restrict non-residents to 24 hours to the next business day, and then take a vote.
All right, so I make a motion to, for future programs, in-town residents register that day, and then 10 a.m. next business days, out-of-town residents register.
Second.
Someone second? Okay, good. So now you just need to do a roll call vote, Sheila.
Okay, so I'm going by my screen here. So I see Theresa,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
Joyce and Associate, Fowd,
Wout is not a
No,
member yet.
Not voting yet.
okay, not a member. Mitch,
Yes.
okay, Ann,
Yes,
okay, perfect.
All right.
And myself, yes.
All right, so I'll take that back and we'll talk about it operationally, figure out how we're gonna do it, and then we'll come back at next meeting. The next registration is not till November. So we have a few months before the next one would be in play.
One quick question, and not the most important thing, and we've already passed the motion, but is there any financial hit on this, or how much would it be? I mean, that's not the important thing. I think Westwood residents should have a chance to do this, but since out of town residents pay more, does that have any financial impact on your programming?
No, so there is a $10 fee, additional fee for non-residents to register. That wouldn't change. So there should be no change to any financial changes to this. Unless, of course, it discourages people to register, but I personally don't think that it will.
or it'll be $10, $20, $30 per program if, say, it was full and 3 Westwood residents didn't get in.
Yeah.
No, I think
Yeah.
definitely the balance is to Westwood residents, let them. get
Yeah,
in.
that would be de minimis. Yeah, that would be de minimis.
Okay, now moving on to the next item, inclusivity in programming, Katie?
I had originally seen Dana's Facebook post, and then a friend had also shared it with me. Dana was the first person who spoke tonight.
Yep.
So I had reached out to Rich to share the Facebook post and hope that we could talk about what Westwood Rec, like the conversations that might have been happening behind the scenes, to see if there were going to be any changes made, to talk about, like, we know that there have been changes to the programming to offer more programming for neurodiverse children in our community. But I know that our part of our job is to relay messages of what we hear in the community, and I just want to make sure that it was brought up and something that is on our radar and that we would talk about. I know that Rich can't talk specifically about what happened with Dana and her daughter, but I just wanted people to be aware that it had been posted publicly, and that it's something that I think we should talk about.
Rich, do you have any input on this?
Well, yeah, so I can tell you a little bit about what we're doing, what we're planning. Of course, I've been keeping you updated on what we've done, so I won't spend a lot of time talking about what we've done, except to say that we had our first inclusive programming back in January, February, and this summer, a couple of things that we did for our summer camp. We hired a BCBA to create a training program, a behavioral training program for all staff who were required to attend that training. It was a 2-hour program that was very well received, and I think that it helped our counselors give them, just a little bit more help in dealing with children that were having, some kind of behavioral issue throughout the day. And I think it was pretty well received, and it definitely made a difference. I mean, keep in mind that our summer counselors are high school kids and some college kids. It's mostly high school kids, okay? So just giving them that little extra boost, something we've never done before, and I think it was very worthwhile. We also hired for the first time a behavioral specialist who sat on top of as a senior supervisor role, and they sort of sat on top of camp and came in and helped when there were issues with the child that the counselor and or the counselor's senior supervisor weren't able to resolve themselves. So this individual would come in and pretty much do her best to try to, using the tools in her specialty, to help resolve issues. What I can tell you in that regard is she kept some statistics. She had a little over 100 interactions with children this summer, where her counselor, where the children's counselor or senior supervisor were unable to help resolve the issue. So Jill came in and helped in over 100 circumstances, and we were able to so north of 75% of the time she was able to resolve it without what we call like a positive outcome, where the child was able to sort of bring themselves back to center and continue to participate in the programs in the moment. About 25% of the time we had to, it may result in some kind of like a call home or additional need for help, because we just weren't able to get the child to respond. So that's what we did this summer. You've seen the recreation brochure that just came out this fall. We've been working on the next iteration of our iSTEAM program that we delivered in January, February. It's going to be side-by-side kids night out. We're still working through some staffing details, but it's pretty much set that for 3 Friday nights, we're going to taking kids and sort of have like play groups and open session. And that, like I said, that is sort of, it's the idea is to create relationships and whatnot, similar to the way Friends Connected. We also offer a program called Inclusion Sports. This is a company that was started by a BCBA to bring sport programs in an inclusive way to recreation. I was introduced to him about a year ago in an industry call, and then met him at the MRPA conference in March. And then we were lucky enough to get him on our fall programming. And then lastly, we put the inclusive swim lessons in there, which, to be truthful, Sue has been very unceremoniously been doing that for a long, long time, and has done a lot of work with that. And we'll continue now, perhaps just a little bit more, making it a little bit more well-known that that's what we offer. Okay, so some of the other things that I'm working on, and none of these are definitive yet, but that we are working on them. I have been talking to a behavioral specialist to come work for us part-time this fall to help create and develop new programming for the winter and spring seasons next year. And we don't have, there's not like a signed offer or anything, but we're pretty much in agreement that this is going to happen. And so this person will help develop, and then we'll also help deliver these programs beginning of next year. I'm also continue to work with the parent advocate who came to me a year and a half ago to start the idea of that iSTEAM program. And we're looking at asking for another grant, perhaps, to help develop training for resources, because one of the big challenges we have, especially during the non-summer months, is hiring help to run programming regardless, but especially if they have behavioral training as well. So we want to see if we can't create, by hiring a BCBA and provide the 40 hours of training that are necessary, and then provide them some field work so that they can get their certification. So we're kicking around that idea. And as a matter of fact, I'm meeting with that mom on Wednesday to go through that in more detail. And then ultimately what my goal is, and I've already mentioned this to a few folks in management, that I would like to hire one more full-time program manager that has a therapeutic recreation degree, so that we can apply full-time resources to development of these programs, right? Because right now, what you may not realize is that if you look at the last time we hired a full-time staff, it was over 5 years ago, and we're servicing 40% more people than we were back then. And we're all to the limit So I think that if we want to carry this forward, which we do, we're very much dedicated to doing so and have been for a year and a half working towards this, then we're going to need more support so that they can run with it full time.
Rich, I think all of this sounds really good. You know, making some great progress and developing new programs and such. But in terms of, I heard Dana say that several towns, surrounding towns, do provide aids, one-on-one aids. And I understand Westwood does not provide one-on-one aids for recreation. That is not the law. That is not the same thing as school.
Yeah, that's right. At this point, we don't, Ann. Yep.
So, and I don't, does that decision fall with the Recreation Department or the Recreation Commission, or is that like a town, a higher up decision to not provide one-on-one aids?
The way that
Chris, I don't know.
So it's a complicated question, and I don't have a complete answer for you yet, Ann, on that. We're still working towards answering that question. However, the way that we run our programs, 100% of the cost of the programs are borne by the fees that we charge. Okay. And so we would need to charge fees for one-on-ones if we were to provide that, the way that our current financial structure is set up for programming. And there are other challenges as well too, including just hiring them and making them available, getting matches, and knowing how many to hire, because we hire, the way that we have registration, it's open registration when we don't know, like right now, we just took registrations for today for programs that start on September. I don't know how many one-on-one aids I would need, and I would need to hire them in 3 weeks. So there's a lot of challenges that we need to work through to get to that point if we were to offer those. I'm not saying we won't in the future. It's just right now we've got a lot of challenges to overcome to get there. So you know, I have talked to a few towns, and over, I guess it would be last winter, to just get a sense of how you know, different towns were doing it. I'll have some more work to do to understand how they're doing it as well in towns that do offer it. And I'm hoping that, you know, some additional resources will be able to help do some of that legwork.
Yeah, I did hear the first speaker also say with appropriate notice. And as you mentioned, 3 weeks, you know, that's not a setup where you could even, even if there were aides floating around that you could hire, it seems pretty.
Right. And now, obviously, we have a longer lead time for the summer programs. I understand that, but it's different for each season. But it's anywhere from, for the 3 non-summer seasons, it's just weeks, right? And it's just a couple months for the summer one. So there's a lot of logistics that would need to be figured out before we could get there.
The camp registration. I'm sorry, Theresa, go ahead.
So I just want to so I have a background in special education. I have an advanced certified master's degree in this area. I have also seen Dana's post. I kind of put, in same with Kate, I called up Rich. I started Googling and searching out things. And just from some very minimal research, I just want to kind of share some data just about our district with the board. And I think this is really important to hear. 587 students or individuals in our town, which means from about preschool age, which would be about 2.5, until about the age of 21, are on an IEP in our district. All right. If I broke that down by demographic, right, and this is just raw me trying to like piecemeal things together, it's 18% at the high school are on an IEP, 23% of the middle school, 38% in elementary school, which are prime group of people who we are servicing, 0.03 at the preschool, and then out of district, and I can do like a whole dissertation about what out of district child would look like, is also 0.03. So Westwood, in terms of their academics, works really hard to keep the kids in town. And if you're not familiar with how the school system works, we have, sorry, my youngest is trying to jump in. We have, like at Downey, we have 3 programs that are serviced at Downey. Yeah, hold on one second, please. And we have WABA, which is a lot of the populations that we're hearing, and there's an upper WABA and there's a lower WABA. There's a peer program. At Sheehan, we have STAR, we have a program just for kids with dyslexia. And so I do think that if we look at our district and we look at how many kids are getting service and they're holding within our district, I definitely think that the need is there. And I think that
I think we need to do some more research before we actually, everyone says that we need to have this in place, because tonight is the first time we all kind of heard what's happening. You had a couple of people respond. We have Rich that's implementing a couple of systems. I don't think we're ready to say, you know what, absolutely, we're going to do this full board, because we don't have all the resources. I have 5 children, and 3 of my children, my youngest is 20. 3 of my kids had an IEP at school. That doesn't mean that I'm getting all these other services at.
But I didn't say that. I'm just saying that I don't think that there is a realization of the wide range of students that we have in our district who are kept in the district. And I think that in part of some of the work that we need to do collectively is like reaching out to some of the parent groups that are in town and just sending them a Google Doc questionnaire saying, hey, what do you think? And I think that would kind of facilitate, like, did you know that the therapeutic recreation programs are being offered? Because
let's do this. You have 3 of them that are coming up in the news in the fall season. Let's see what the responses to those 3 programs. If they get full, then we know, okay, there's a need for this. I don't think we should totally jump into everything until we get more.
I'm not saying jump into everything. What I'm saying is that we have 8 slots available. We have only 2 spots in each category taken. So we need a minimum of 4 kids in order just to run the program. Are the families who are calling up even know that this is an option? Do families know who have kids in any of this area, in this data collection, do they know that there's an inclusion sports opportunity open? Or have they been so exasperated that they got the book, they chucked it in the trash saying, you can't help my kid?
Well, that's on them if they didn't open the book to look at it.
But
I mean, I think that
find your kid for something and it's failed and it's failed and it's failed, they're not going to open up the pages and they're not going to do the work to even try. They're tired. And we just had someone call in and say, I drive by and I'm in tears just driving my kid to another town. So would that mother have opened the booklet?
I think she would, because her kids are in camp.
I don't think so.
It seemed like a lot of people were talking within this network, and a lot of the speakers knew that there were programs coming up this
I think
fall.
they do because they looked today, but I think if this meeting, if the post wasn't posted and if the people hadn't done some homework and looked, they would not have known that there are offerings. And I think that's something that we really also need to consider as we pursue all this.
Okay, I think it should be noted. I
May I
think we
jump
should.
in here? Oh, ladies, please, may I jump in here? Because I think we're getting off, we're talking, this is good stuff and something we really need to be concerned about. But just a perspective, because the mom had an issue with summer camp. Rich, can we talk about summer camp for a second, if we don't mind? How many, the term neurodiverse, how many children would fell into that category in summer camps? Just so we can kind of get a sense of what you're dealing with, and were you able to deal with those children without, too many well-trained specific individuals trained for that?
Yeah, so I do have that number. Of course, I don't know exactly because not everyone identifies their children. We do have a survey that parents fill out online that has a lot of demographic information, things like who's allowed to pick up the child, medical information, and we do ask some questions about whether or not there's any behavioral diagnoses or anything like that, mental health diagnoses, whatever. And so there were that attended our camp this summer, 45 that were that the parents identified the children as neurodiverse in some form. So I would suspect it would be higher than that because not every parent does
And other
identify
than
that.
out of the 45, sorry, I don't want to hog this, but out of the 45, other than the mother, the young woman, the mother who came in and the daughter was asked to leave, were there any others out of that 45 that were similarly asked to leave camp?
Yes, 1.
Okay, so a total of 2.
That's correct.
And the parent who was asked to leave camp, were they given any alternatives other than simply your daughter has to leave because we can't handle it? Is there an alternative for her to stay in camp?
Well, yeah, so they would just need to provide a one-on-one.
And they would need to
That's
pay
right.
for that. Okay.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry. I just wanted to kind of focus a little bit on the camp, but the floor is all yours. Sorry.
And are you allowed to go into specifics as to what the situation was that led to you asking these two?
No.
No, okay.
I think the only other point I want to share is having also being a teacher and having been in a lot of IEP meetings. At the end of the year, when we do our final meeting with parents, and Theresa, correct me if I misspeak, but a lot of the time we recommend students for specific camps, and having worked in Newton, we have a really great special ed department and programs available for them through the town. And a lot of the time we recommend the parents have one-on-one aid with that student. And a lot of the time it comes from the school. So I don't know if it's a conversation that we need to maybe loop the school committee, or if we talk to, I don't know who it is in the school. I don't know how that conversation starts. But I know a lot of those one-on-one aides and BTs also work at summer camp supporting students. And that could be an option.
It typically depends on your district. It depends on the district and what the district is willing to offer for what you call an ESY, extended school year option. And that typically is done by the district, which they would have like a rubric or a system. And they would say, this child needs math support. We will offer an hour, 90 minutes twice a week for 6 weeks. And that would be the offering. They need reading support. Typically OT and speech is not solely offered. It would depend on the child and what manners in which the parent can receive that support if it is deemed appropriate by the district. Then children who are typically neurally challenged and would need additional support by the district to prevent significant regression prior to the start of the upcoming school year, that also would, again, goes by the rubric of what that district would offer. So I know for Westwood, depending on the program you're in, you can be in school literally from the day the school year gets out through the day the school year starts up, depending on the program that you are in your district. And Westwood does have a group of kids in that system. Then they scale it down a little bit, saying that some kids can handle like a Christmas break or a April vacation. And so they'll have a week or 2 weeks off prior to school getting out. Then they'll be in some sort of extended school year program. And then they would be redone for another small break before the school year then kicks in again. And that would be done by time of how the district puts that minutes together based on how your IEP and what the district is willing to approve. If the district does not want to approve that, they can seek out of district placement for the summer to receive additional supports, again, depending on the district and what they're willing to offer and what they don't feel that they can offer. But I mean, it's also, and that's just like a very like Cliff Notes rendition. It can get deeper and deeper and deeper from that piece.
Rich, do you want to input here?
Yeah, I don't really have much to add on that. I mean, Theresa clearly knows a lot about it.
That's all
academic. It's usually
so what you were talking about was academic, mostly academic services provided by the school district.
Yes. There will be some social concentration, but it's typically mainly all focused around academics.
So if we were talking about offering aids to say those two or maybe other neurodiverse students to attend camp, we're talking about either charging the families for those aids or taxpayers paying them, because it wouldn't come.
So that's the gray area from what I've looked into, and I've called the district, I've left voicemails, I've emailed people trying to get as much information as I can in this space. And every time I mention it, I've been told, well, we do offer summer support that we feel is appropriate for that child to maintain their academic and some social ability over the school year, right? So they don't have too much regression. When I say, okay, well, what if, just let's say that the Park and Rec wanted to offer or would like to have a child come support. And what I was told was that the Park and Rec does not fall under the school or the school district, so the IP would not transfer over. when I looked through DESA and all that kind of stuff, it was kind of like the big gray area. Since Park and Rec does not fall directly under the umbrella of the school committee, it's where and how each district kind of attacks it.
So in theory, could a mother who, not to be specific on the woman who spoke, but in general, if a child has an IEP plan and really needs help, wouldn't that be part of negotiating with the town to also cover parks and recreation or other activities to benefit the child? Could that be included in an IEP plan if so pushed by the parent?
To my extent and to what I have seen, what I have drafted when I was writing IEPs, I never put that into place. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I'm just saying I personally never did it. So I don't feel necessarily comfortable speaking that area because there could be someone out there who has. What I can say is that there are some families insurances that do provide a type of support that is offered to families through their insurance, but it depends on your insurance and that depends on health and other kinds of things. So again, that's like that gray area of some districts work with the school committee and they just make it work. And then you're right, it does come to a cost to the taxpayer. Other districts saying, nope, we cover what's allowed in school. And if you want to do this, you need to either pay yourself or you need to go through your insurance. Because there are programs out there that do supply a one-on-one support so that your child can attend different programs. But it's a giant gray area.
So, what are we trying to accomplish tonight? Just discuss the issue, be aware of it.
I just wanted to bring it up so that people, I just wanted everyone to know it was something that was publicly posted, and I wanted the commission to be aware that it was something that was made public. I'm glad that she came and she spoke to everyone, and I'm glad other people came in support of that as well. So I wanted to make everyone aware of it.
I think it's something we should totally look into, but I don't know if I'm ready tonight to make a decision because it's all.
I don't even think it's our decision.
There's a lot more work that needs to be done, Sheila, before any decisions are made. There's a lot. This is a long process to introduce something like this. It's something that needs to be built out.
Okay.
Actually, can I make one more comment? And Fawad, you might be more familiar with this because my kids are older, but youth soccer, after first, second, third grade, it's run by a separate organization like Westwood Little League, Westwood Youth Soccer. So it's not the recreation department. I don't want Rich or the recreation department here to be that woman. It's very poignant that your kid is not playing youth soccer on the field. I get it. No one wants to go by a field and not have their kid participate. That's hard, especially when other children in town are. But that's something that may be broader than that. That's not the Recreation Commission. I know that's Westwood Youth Soccer, right. Westwood Baseball, basketball. Those organizations probably have to be brought up to speed so more children can participate. But I just didn't, since we're on the record here, I didn't want it to think that the Recreation Commission is totally.
We can't do anything about that.
Children from playing youth soccer, for example, since that was brought up. And I don't.
When I was involved with youth soccer, we did have a program on Sundays because parents came to Westwood Youth Soccer asking, could their child be included? And there was a program on Sundays that specifically was for what they're doing in Dover. But it was fantastic. And it was the parents that organized it. So if they're listening, I would reach out to Westwood Youth Soccer and say that you're interested in doing it because we did it before.
And basketball and baseball, little league, softball, whatever the sport is, get the youth sports involved and have them have activities so more children can participate.
It feels like a much bigger issue than the Recreation Department or the Recreation Commission.
Yes.
I agree.
Although we should discuss it.
I'm grateful that Rich is actually having programs that is doing this. It wasn't around prior, which is great that we're doing it now.
Katie, sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm just hoping that, I mean, I agree that this is a bigger conversation to have than us. But I'm hoping that, the school committee, recreation department, the town can start having these conversations and hope to find a solution for kids who should be able to go to camp. and partake in our programs.
But it depends on, I mean, we don't know the situation, right? But if it's a very dangerous situation and the town, the recreation department could be liable for kids getting injured. I don't know what the exact situation was with these two kids, but if there's not a way to make camp safe for everybody, then
right. And I'm
there
sure
has to be.
I'm guessing that there's some sort of clause in the agreement that parents sign about, like, if your child poses a threat of danger and violence to other campers and counselors, that you'll be asked to leave.
That's correct, Katie. Yeah.
So,
I mean,
and
that's
this,
not negotiable. That's for any child.
Right.
right. And so without knowing the situation, like, sure, all kids should be able to go to camp, but if there's a danger, if they cause a danger to other children or to themselves or to the staff, or, there's got to be, and the program's not designed to be able to fix that problem.
But I'm guessing, and this is me completely assuming, is that the parent who posted that and came tonight didn't have a child who posed a violent threat, because she would have seen that clause and would have agreed to it. And it wouldn't have come out as I got a call Friday at 3:30 and now I don't have childcare.
I think another thing just to note, and a friend sent this to me, 295 people reacted to this post, 144 people commented on this post, and I did read all 144 comments prior to the meeting, and 17 people shared this post. So people in our community are talking about this. And I totally agree. This is definitely a much bigger conversation than I think we can resolve tonight, but I don't think that this is gonna go anywhere. And I don't think any parent who is signing their child up would say, I know my child is dangerous, but I'm gonna wing it and sign them up. I think that a lot of the parents who called in, and as a mother, I heard it, they're tired. I mean, if you didn't hear it in their voices, I'm really kind of questioning things, because out of the 9 moms who called in, and I bet the dads or the spouses would have called in as well, every one of them, you could hear just like the tiredness in their voice, like the exasperation of trying and trying and trying and just wanting to be a part of where they live, and then feeling exasperated and feeling they don't fit in and wondering like, what's going on? Where's the win for my kid? And I think that those are two important things that as a board, we have to hear, that a significant people reacted, responded, and shared something. And the people who called in to voice that, either directly affected because of it's their neighbor, they're tired. And we have to hear that as well.
No, I would say that we have heard it. I've heard it. It's something that we're going to continue to work on in the department, right? And at this point, that's all I can commit to. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done. It's not something that can be done overnight. That needs to be built out. Chris, you raised your hand. Did you want to add something? Chris Coleman?
Yes, please. So thank you. I just wanted to share that this is, so I came in when, I don't know how many residents spoke before I joined the meeting. I was coming from another meeting, so I do apologize. Certainly hear what the residents that I heard are saying. Rich and Sue and the team have heard what the residents are saying. And I just want to and as Rich said, there's a lot of work and a lot of research that we still need to do, but I just want to bring us back to Rich and Sue have been in this team for less than 3 years, to working together in this role. Rich as the acting director, and then the director, and Sue as the assistant director. And within that time, they've had, working with a resident, established the ISTEAM program. They have the training that Rich mentioned earlier this evening for his staff. They hired a behavioral specialist. They're talking about having a behavioral specialist within the department, within the division. And Rich is also talking about looking for additional resources as another program manager specifically for the therapeutic recreation. They have the therapeutic recreation program that has now gone out in the fall program, as you've seen. And so I can't say what didn't happen years earlier, but in a very short window, there seems to be a lot of momentum Rich and the team have identified a need in the community, and they're working to address those needs. And we do this quite often where we identify a need, and unfortunately, it's not a quick fix. And this takes a lot of research and implementation and planning to get that through. And I think that the team is doing a great job, and they've acknowledged and they've addressed the fact that there's more that we can do. We have to do some more research. And I think Rich and Sue have already identified some of the steps they're looking to take in the near future. I think with the additional research that they're looking to do, I think they can certainly come back to the commission with some thoughts. But I just want to let everyone know that it's not falling on deaf ears. They're very sensitive to this. And there have been things that the Recreation Department has been doing even before. It just hasn't been marketed in a certain way. And I think I just want to just say thank you to the team for what they've done, and certainly appreciate the residents who have spoken to the commission this evening, addressing their concerns. And those are being heard loud and clear. And I just want to just emphasize to the Recreation Commission that things are moving forward. Things are being looked into. They're being researched. And I think one of the things that all of you can certainly appreciate is our Recreation Department doesn't put out programs that aren't going to be successful. There's a lot of research and planning that goes in when they're rolling out new programs and new opportunities. And that this is just one of those things that's going to take a little more time to research in order to implement some new things. So I think you're going to continue to see growth in this area with therapeutic recreation. I just think it's going to take, like I said, just take a little more time to get things going, but we still are moving forward step by step.
I think that's where I was coming from too. It was sounding a little bit like we were accusing the rec department of kicking children out of camp for no reason. That would never have happened. It's an excellent staff. They would not have kicked the child out of camp for no reason. So I just, was trying to say that there's what is posted on Facebook isn't always the whole story. And I'm not trying to be unsympathetic. I am very fortunate that I do not have neurodiverse children. I was just trying to, give some credit to the wonderful team that we do have that's working very hard for the community and are trying to improve things as well.
Thanks, Ann. Rania, you had your hand up. Did you want to?
Yes. Hi everybody. Sorry I've been off video. I do have a neurodiverse son who's 9, and part of the reason I've been off video, literally, I have a full-time job. I have to help him eat. I have to help him go to the bathroom. It's exhausting. But anyway, so I sympathize a lot with the parents that spoke. But I do want to say that I am so impressed with Rich and Chris and how supportive they have been. It's part of the reason I wanted to join as the associate here. They've been so remarkable with helping create a universally accessible playground already. What Rich and Chris have done, I was blown away when I saw the playground recently. And it's really hard to do well. And I know I have good faith in them. So I really appreciate it. But I also understand the frustration of the parents because I feel that frustration. I'm going to sign up Gavin for actually our therapeutic our therapeutic offerings this fall, and I'll let you all know he does need a one-on-one. And I'm lucky that we do have insurance that pays for it. Some parents cannot secure that. It's harder for some kids. For example, females tend to go underdiagnosed because it tends to, my son is a male, but a lot of neurodiverse women and young girls don't get diagnosed and therefore don't get support and then have to even pay more. So there's a lot of barriers and extra hardships, but that's all I wanted to say. I don't want to say too much. I know it's getting heated, but I am here to talk to anyone who wants to talk more offline. And I really appreciate everyone being so passionate about this. And I appreciate the parents. Thanks.
Thanks, Rania.
Thank you.
Okay, are we ready to move forward? So the next up is future meetings on Zoom versus in person. Rich, can you take that over?
Yeah, so I guess the question is, does anybody object to moving back to in-person meetings? I've had a couple of conversations with folks who are looking forward to moving back to in-person meetings, and just wanted to float it out there, see if anybody had any feelings about it one way or the other, and then ultimately vote so that in theory, next meeting we could do in person again.
No objection from me.
Well,
Okay,
I'll
so
speak
Nicole-
because I think people don't want to, this is a delicate topic, and mask versus no mask, being in a room together, ventilation. I'm ambivalent about it. I mean, I think we'd be safe enough, but you may be someone who doesn't want to speak up and feels awkward about it and doesn't really want to be in that room, or is going to want to be masked and no one else is masked, or doesn't want to shake hands. I think you're putting people in an awkward position to attend a meeting. It's just my overall opinion until we have a better handle on what's going on. So I mean, we can take it to a vote, and democracy rules, but I think everyone needs to, be able to be careful about this, because there's a lot of issues here, and this is a health issue, Rich. And
yeah.
You're putting people in an awkward position because no one really wants to say, well, I don't want to see people live. Of course we do. We are getting together with friends. It was great. We're hugging each other and we're sitting there without masks, and it's wonderful, but we need to do that in a meeting. I guess, well, Chris, I'll put you on the spot again. Our other committees, commissions, were meeting live, and if so, how are they managing that?
So my understanding, there are a few that are meeting in person. I can speak specifically for the select board. We just had a meeting this evening that was virtual. Our next meeting is scheduled, as I mentioned earlier, for September 12th, and that will be virtual as well. We have not gone into the hybrid model or the in-person model.
Well, if the selectmen are still meeting virtual, I'm not sure we should be a pioneer here. I think it should be uniform across town.
Agree.
Well, I'm sorry, can I just say something?
I'm fine either way. I just wanted to give you all the chance to talk it out, and if you want to do it either way, I mean, it's very convenient.
Okay, just want to say it's not universal throughout the town. I just want to be clear on that. Committees, boards have their discretion if they want to meet in person, if they want to meet virtually. I think the school committee was meeting in person. I know we're going to have our charter review committee is going to have a few meetings that will be starting next month. Those will be in person. So I just want to make sure everyone's clear. It's not uniform throughout the community.
So if you guys want to vote, if you don't want to vote too, if someone wants to motion it, if someone doesn't want to motion it, again, I just wanted to put it out there. The last time we talked about it was roughly 6 months ago or so, and happy to do whatever you guys want. It's all right. So I'm going to go silences. We're not even going to raise it as a vote, and we'll just keep going virtual.
Yeah.
That's fine with me.
Okay, next up, we got director staff report, event updates, Westwood Day.
Yeah, so I'm just real quick, Angela's going to be reaching out to you all in the next day or two to talk about Westwood Day assignments and whatnot. So if you could start thinking about that. And I just wanted to alert you of that. We had our most recent Westwood Day meeting last week, and things are progressing well. We're in really good shape. So we have a few more food vendors than we did last year, which is terrific. And, but again, similar in nature to years past, and, where everybody's work stream seems to be progressing well. The vendors are pouring in multiple vendors per day for Vendors Village, which is typical this time of year. That's when we get most of them. So things are progressing nicely.
Perfect. Okay, summer program, camps, sports, games galore.
Yeah, so I just real quick, and I already mentioned this, we had like 4,600 registrations this summer, which is up 17% from last year. So that's quite a few. And generally speaking, it was hot, but it was dry, unlike last year where it was hot and wet. And so I'll take hot and dry every day over hot and wet. So this is our last week of programming, week 9, and we are running the games galore, which is about 60 kids. And we have some tennis lessons going on and one sport clinic. So it's winding down. It's been a great summer. Things, generally speaking, have gone very, very well. And, the numbers were, not just barely record breaking. They, blew the roof off. So, which is terrific. I just wanted to point out, and I think we've probably already exhausted the therapeutic recreation piece. I just wanted to point out that page. The brochure was mailed out actually a few days ahead of schedule, which was terrific. And registrations open today. And again, registrations were higher than they were last year for day 1. So I don't have exact numbers yet, but I can say that the registrations look very good for the fall so far.
Perfect. Okay. Fields and facilities.
All right. So the fields calendar for the youth sport groups was posted a week or so ago. So that's all sorted, which is great. The next thing is pickleball. I know that I wish Paul could be here today to see this. Hopefully he got the packet anyway, but I provided to you a couple of pricing scenarios for the pickleball courts down by the COA in Thurston, one with lights and one without lights. What's interesting is, and it's funny when you hire engineers, you learn things. The way, if you're familiar with where the tent was and the orientation of that tent, if we kept that same footprint, the courts would be facing east-west, which means in the evening, you'd be looking right into the sun, and you would not, if you've ever driven down Manhattan Street in the afternoon during sunset, it's almost impossible. It's very blinding. So the engineer is recommending that we rotate the orientation 90 degrees so that you would be playing north-south, which is what these pictures that I showed you in the package, page 9, 10, 11, and 12 with the associated costs. So the fields would be, the court would be, sorry. Bear with me one sec, my apologies.
Is it the $380,000 number with lights and $300,000?
Yes. Yep. So, and there's contingency built in there. So it's 313 plus a 20% contingency, be 370, call it 380. And then without lights, it would be 250 with a contingency 300. So I'm meeting with a bunch of folks in town to talk about what the next steps are in terms of, I'm meeting with Director of Finance, someone from planning, Chris, Danielle, and we're just going to talk through next steps. We already have permission to do this from the schools, but it is on school property, so that there's some discussion that needs to happen there. And hopefully for the next meeting, I just got this a couple of weeks ago, back from the engineer. For the next meeting, I should have a fairly detailed, exact what the next steps are and a timeline associated with them. This meeting that we're having on Thursday will iron all of those out. Okay.
So Rich, go ahead. Go, Theresa.
Just 2 quick questions for you. I just make sure my orientation is correct. This doesn't affect the tot lot, does it?
No.
It's over to the side of the tot lot. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so the tot lot stays where it is. It's just going to be where
it's not going to touch any existing structures. The only thing we'll have to do where the batting cage is, we'll have to move that, which we've already talked to Matt Gillis about, and that won't be a problem.
Okay, and then I actually received a few emails from residents in town asking about this. And I know I had asked you a few questions, and each email talked about their love of this new sport pickleball and how they're very thankful and grateful for the new lines that were put in down at the Downey courts and how they're out there in the pouring rain when it does rain, and they're excited to play in the winter, and they're really hoping that at some juncture, the lights would be put in. And they asked if the new courts were getting lights. And I said, well, I think your choice is, would you want the courts first and lights hopefully later on? Or are you pushing for it all done in one pack, which would mean the possibility of the project taking longer? And so I know that they're in the pickleball circuit. People are excited about this, but there's a lot of people who are pressing for lights at some juncture in the new location.
Yep. So that's why we priced it out, and that's definitely going to be part of the discussion. So yeah, I don't have an answer for you whether it'll be in phase one and it'll be one big project or whether it'll be 2 phases. I don't know.
Okay.
And is that something that has to go to
That'll
town
be an
meeting?
economic decision.
Will the
Does that go
project
to town meeting?
What's that?
Does that go to town meeting? Is that where that decision's made?
So I don't know, probably not the way I believe that this is going to be funded. Revolving fund will probably pay for most of this. There may be some grants as well, and that may pay for lights. I don't know, and I'll have more information on that after my meeting on Thursday and have a better answer for you on that next meeting.
Rich, fast question. Page 9, is that including a stockade fence around there?
It includes a fence, yes.
Okay. And it's going to do the circumference of the darker green area, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, and then the last thing I had, I believe, now I've lost my thing here. The last thing is just the playground. So the last meeting I talked to you how I've been working with folks in town, to and including Rania, to add some handicap accessible elements into School Street Playground. I have quotes, it's with procurement, and I've secured the funds through an opera grant, thanks to Pam Dukeman and Chris, and getting all that working, in the select board for approving that. So so it's right now, it's just a matter of getting it through procurement, getting the bid, and then getting the work done. So, you know, I'm hoping that that will be done before first snow.
Sorry, can I make one comment? I think if Paul was here, this is in regards to the pickleball. I think if Paul was here, he'd do this, he'd say this, so I'm going to say it for him as well. This is right next to the baseball field. I don't deny that we need a pickleball court. It's very popular. I'm a tennis player, so I get it. But is there any talk about an additional fence? Because that's right in foul ball territory. You're going to get balls flying into that. The balls, it's so close, and it's right behind home plate. That is a danger. Again, that doesn't mean we shouldn't have courts, and I don't mean to put a monkey wrench in anything here. I know it's late, sorry, but has any thought been thought about that?
Yeah, let me talk to the engineer. He's going to be in this meeting, Mitch, and see how he's contemplated that. And because he knows that, I mean, he was there, he knows it's right there, and I'll have an answer for you on the next meeting.
Rich, they don't do any nets on top of the court so that the balls will bounce off of that, right?
I don't know. I doubt it. I don't think you could put a net over the top of it, but there's got to be some mitigation.
Okay.
Okay, just thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Paul Tesseri. That was a good statement. All right.
All right. That's all I had, I think.
I think this is a long night, so hopefully the next meeting we can keep it under an hour. But we covered a lot. Thank you, Theresa, for all the information that you have brought. So what do you think about the next meeting when is the Westwood Day?
The Saturday before that, the 17th.
The 17th. Do we want to meet before the 17th? You want to meet after the 17th?
Well, I don't think, I mean, before this, definitely not the week before we're going to be all hands on deck at that point.
Okay. Is the 19th, you're going to be exhausted from the 17th? You want to go the 26th?
I'd rather just do it on the 19th and just keep it on schedule, because every time we move it a week, then it creates a short month, and then there's less that happens in between them, right? So,
Okay.
but again, that's just my opinion. I'll be fine. I'll be able, I won't be doing much on Sunday, the 18th, but on Monday I should be recuperated.
Okay. You can't call in sick then, or you can work a half day, come in at 12, work till
No
9.
promises, but I won't.
Is anyone have an issue with the 19th? Can anyone not make it on the 19th? Anne?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So let's shoot for the 19th.
Okay.
And see everyone Westwood Day on the 17th, 18th.
Terrific. All right, thanks, everybody. Appreciate all the inputs tonight. It was a good meeting.
Do we have to motion to adjourn the meeting?
No, we
Yes,
do.
we do.
Yes, we
Thank
do.
you. Whoever said that, thank you.
Our fearless minute taker knows what's going on. I'll make a
All right,
motion.
so
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Good. All right, now I have to go through everyone. All right, let's do this again. Motion to adjourn, Theresa.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn, Katie
Yes.
and Mitch.
Yes.
Anne.
Yes.
Okay, and Sheila says yes. All right, I adjourn. Ready?
all right, have a
Thanks,
good
guys.
night,
Have a good
everyone.
night.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Hey, everyone.
Bye.